Afternoon, this is Peter Towers from ESS BIZGRANTS. Welcome to this webinar today on ESS BIZGRANTS with a particular feature on the new federal government grant accelerating commercialisation. We'll just wait a little bit, another few seconds if there's still people registering. During the webinar, if you have any questions, can you please type your question and in webinar jargon raise your hand, and I will answer the questions during the webinar. Okay, well, we'll get started because time's important. So the feature today is accelerating commercialisation. Federal government has introduced accelerating commercialisation as part of the Entrepreneur Infrastructure program that the Liberal government introduced from around the beginning of July. They originally made some announcements on these grants and then made some changes, but accelerating commercialisation has now been officially launched. So let's have a look at some of the key attributes of it. It must have developed novel product, processes or services. So this is not an initial idea. There needs to have been some work done to have already developed a prototype of the product, process or service. Now let's look at the objectives. The objectives are to accelerate the commercialisation of technology in Australia. So it's a continuation, in effect, of the Commercialisation Australia program, which is obviously now finished for new applications, even though there's still work going on some of the applicants that had been admitted to Commercialisation Australia. Create new businesses. Unashamedly, that's what the government's about. They want to see good ideas commercialised and new sound businesses created so that they will earn additional income tax in the future. And they want to facilitate greater returns from research. The government spends a lot of money on research and development, millions of dollars every year. They want to get a better return from that by seeing some of these activities commercialised. The system is going to work through private enterprise commercialisation advisors. At this stage, they are the Commercialisation Australia advisors who are being retained to get accelerating commercialisation underway. But new advisors may be appointed next year. Grants are for a small, medium enterprise of up to $1 million are available. If a business works through a university or research centre, well, the grants are only going to be up to $250,000. But the applicant must contribute 50% of the costs of the project. The applicant needs to be able to satisfy the case manager that they're able to fund their share of the costs. Eligibility can be a company. The company need not have traded in the past, but they will require an incorporated company to be the entity. An individual or a researcher who agrees to form a company can be the applicant, but if they're admitted into accelerating commercialisation, they have to agree to form a company. Turnover can be from zero, so obviously a researcher or someone who has developed the product is eligible to apply, to a maximum of $20 million. Now that's group turnover over a for over a 3-year period. The turnover cannot be over $20 million. The applicant must have the ownership or the beneficial use of the intellectual property that's going to be used in the project. And the applicant must not have made their first commercial sale of their new product or process. That's not meaning that it includes their first sale of a pro rata type product or a proportionately developed product, but the final product, when the first sale of that's made, they would not be eligible for accelerating commercialisation grants. The eligible expenditure in this program includes labour, so that can be the organisation's own labour. There is a maximum amount of labour that's allowed of $175,000 unless the delegate to the program has approved a higher amount. Labour on costs. The amount that's been set in accelerating commercialisation is 40%, so it's to cover the normal labour on costs of workers' compensation, superannuation, payroll tax if necessary, but there's also some additional funding there to cover general administrative costs within the business. Plant expenditures, the next one that's able to be covered. This can cover necessary expenditure in preparing the product and getting it ready for final commercialization tests. It could include depreciation on equipment that's being utilized in those final trials. Prototype expenditure is the next item of expenditure. The applicant will need some sort of prototype when they initially make their application, but if there's further expenditure that's going to be necessary on the prototype itself, this might have come out of various discussions with potential customers or distributors, and there needs to be more expenditure on the prototype. That can be covered. Business plans, budgets and cash flow forecasts, similar to what was allowable under Commercialisation Australia, is allowable. I could also have included intellectual property expenses there, but the funding is only 50%. It's not 80% like it was for those items on the Commercialisation Australia program. The other expenditure that's able to be claimed is capital raising strategy expenses, so determining how much money would be desirable for the business to raise from investors, business angels or venture capital funds. The costs of that advisor in determining a capital raising strategy can be included. And experienced executives. Now this was similar to what was available as one of the components of Commercialisation Australia. Experienced executives up to a total cost of $250,000 on a full year cost basis are claimable under this program. The experienced executive must be able to bring new skills and ideas to the CEO role, the Chief Financial Officer role or the Sales Manager role, and the person must work at least 3 days a week for the business. The application process is a little bit different to Commercialisation Australia in that the applicant needs to complete an expression of interest on the internet to submit it to AusIndustry, who will conduct an initial review. I think most applicants are going to need assistance to complete the expression of interest, because this is their only opportunity to make an impression on this program. So they need to be able to convey the picture of what they're trying to do. So you might think about, if you're going to provide these type of services for your clients, as to how you would deliver that advice on how they're going to complete the expressions of interest, which will go to AusIndustry. If they're invited to, then they'll be then sent the application form, which is quite detailed and requires a lot of information and will require a fair bit of work to complete. This is definitely an area where I believe that most applicants are going to require assistance to ensure that they answer those questions correctly. The merit criteria is worth looking at. The first one is need for funding, and this is the prime merit criteria. The applicant will need to be able to satisfactorily satisfy the case manager that they do require the funding. If they cannot prove that they require the funding, there will be no further work done on their application. So it's a very important area to answer. The market opportunity is also very important. The government is expecting these applicants to have done some work in the marketplace, to have found some distributors and potential customers and other people who are enthusiastic about this particular product. The value proposition is important. The government wants to know that this is a product that's got the potential to work, that the whole deal adds up, that customers will be interested, the product can be made for the amount of money that the applicant is saying it can be. Execution, how's this all going to happen? What sort of facilities is the applicant going to need? Have they included the cost of those facilities in their application? Have they thought it through, how they're going to distribute and market the product? If it needs to be sold overseas, what planning needs to be done? Management capability. There's a lot of difference between having the skills to develop a new product and ensuring that the product can be appropriately sold. So does the applicant's team have the necessary skills? And this is why the government has included funding of an experienced executive in the approved funding area. Does the business need to hire a CEO? In some instances, you'll find that if the client is talking to business angels and indeed venture capitalists, they may put a stipulation on that they require the applicant entity to have engaged an experienced executive to be the CEO of the business. National benefits are important. What's the payback for Australia out of this process? What benefits are going to accrue to other businesses, especially downstream businesses from this one? And in weighing the benefits, there will be some weighting given that if the applicant's industry, where they're operating, is going to be one of the 5 major industry groups that the federal government has identified as part of the Entrepreneurs Infrastructure Program. Now the first one of those is advanced manufacturing. That covers a very wide area, but is the applicant part of that? The next one is food and agribusiness. Now this doesn't include the growing of the crops or the farming of animals, but it's the manufacture of the food and agribusinesses. Next one is medical technologies and pharmaceuticals. Is the applicant's business going to be involved in one of those? The next one after that is mining equipment, technology and services, and the next one is oil, gas and energy resources. Now they're the 5 industries that the Entrepreneur Infrastructure Program, which is what Accelerating Commercialisation is part of, have nominated as being the key industries the government is concentrating on. And if you have a client who is participating in one of those areas, then they can be given an extra weighting in this application process. Or if they're enabling technologies and services provided by one of the 4 industries that I'm going to put on the screen now that are servicing one of those 5 major industries. So these 4 industries are freight and logistics, infrastructure related construction, information and communication technology, and professional services. Now don't get excited, that doesn't include accountants or lawyers or anything like that. It is mainly in the scientific professional services area. But if you have a client who is developing a product, process or service for one of these industries who are servicing one of those other 5, then you will receive a weighting benefit when the consideration is given to the national benefits under the application process. So that's the overview of the Accelerating Commercialisation Grant. Within ESS BIZTOOLS we have a paper on how that grant operates. It is the final grant of the Entrepreneur Infrastructure Program. So they have a research facility, accelerating commercialisation and business growth grants. The business growth grants are up to $20,000 with turnovers over $1.5 million in those specified industries that we just looked at. The same industries apply in the researching connections or research connections, where the grant is available of up to $50,000. So why use ESS BIZGRANTS? We believe our product will enable you to deliver a proactive service to your clients. One of the reasons we've developed ESS BIZGRANTS is that David Smith, chairman of Smith Inc. 2020 and former chairman of the Institute of Chartered Accountants, had indicated to us that when he was undertaking reviews of accountancy businesses that had indicated they were interested in joining one of the accounting aggregators, one of the most regular complaints that he received from SME operators is that they were not kept informed about government grants. And they weren't very happy. They believed that their accountants, as the trusted advisor, should have been keeping them informed. So we developed this product that you don't have to become a grant expert. We believe that the system's there and it will show you the grants that individual clients might be eligible for. One other very important point is that you're the project manager. We've developed the system so you can control what's happening. You can advise your clients in a proactive manner without you having to send your client off to some other organisation, because you never know once that happens what is likely to happen, what influence is then going to be placed on your client to switch their allegiance to someone else for the tax return preparation. And there is a potential for substantial consulting fees to be earned from undertaking government grant work. There's a lot of these programs that accountants who are offering business advisory services can earn fees from. We think it's an ideal way for you to start a business advisory service for your clients. And one of the key areas is the government will be paying 50% of the costs for that service to your clients. So what I'm going to do now is move into the ESS BIZGRANTS website. I'll just check if there's any questions. I've got no questions, so if you do have a question, can you please type it in and send it to us. I've now gone on to the ESS BIZGRANTS website. We're in the members page. We'll go back and look at the beginning of the website a little bit later. I want to go first of all to client profiles. Now, I'm aware that the web service to you is a bit slow today. Telstra's had some real problems in our area in the last week or so, and they're back here on Monday to fix it. So I'm just waiting. So I'm looking at another screen. I'm just waiting for you to start seeing the website before I go into it. Okay, so what you've got there on the screen that you're looking at present is the members homepage. We are going to go into the client profile, and I will discuss a little bit later the front end of the website so you get an appreciation of that. So what you have on the screen at present is the new client profile. In the business name, you would enter the name of a client. So we're going to put a business in. So WSD Steel Fabricators. Now you then have a choice as to what sort of entity type that this business is. Is it a commercialization office, a company, consortium, etc.? So that choice is there. You can go through and look at which one you think applies. This is a company, so I'm going to click on company. Companies are the most popular as far as the government's concerned for grants, but some of these other entities will be eligible for some government grants, but we'll select company. Do you export products? We're going to answer yes. This business is a $3 million turnover steel fabricator based in Fitzroy in Victoria, and they do some exporting, so we're going to click yes. Do you import products? Yeah, they do import some products, so we'll click yes, so that the system can then look at what grants that a importer might be able to find. The number of employees, we've got a choice of 0 to 20, 20 to 200, 200 plus. We need to answer what it is. This business has got 25 employees, so we'll click on 20 to 200. Those employee bands have been created to comply with the numbers of employees that are mentioned in the various grants. Do you have an ABN? We'll tick yes. You need to indicate that you have an ABN if you're going to apply for a government grant. If you don't, you will not be eligible for the grant. The next question is, how many years have you been operating? We have been operating for 7 years in this business. So, but what you have on the screen is the various decisions that can be made. So I've clicked on over 3 years because that's what the grant program wanted to know. The annual turnover, I said before, about $3 million. So that's in the band of $1.5 to $20 million, as you'll see in a moment when that comes onto your screen. The turnover bands that we have comply with the various government grants that we're trying to cover in this product. So we're going to click on $1.5 million to $20 million because that's where it relates. Are you registered for GST? I'm going to click on yes because a business needs to be registered for GST. Are you tax exempt? We're answering no because that's what is required, because if the business is tax exempt, they will not be able to claim a grant under this program. And one of the other questions was, are they involved in research and development? I've clicked on yes, and we've now gone through to the details of the location of the business. I couldn't spell Fitzroy, could I? What is that in? Fitzroy, it's in Victoria, and the postcode is 3065. So we hit save on that, and the system is then going to give us details that we can check if we like for this business, WSD, steel fabricators. You can check the details, the address, financial. But the key thing we've got to do here now is look at the business industry code. Now we're utilising the taxation office business codes, which are based on the Australian Statisticians Department. You can go to a number of places to identify the business that your client is operating in. So we could have a keyword which you can insert as long as it's part of the description of the industry in accordance with the ATO business numbers. Or if you know the number, which many of you will because you're putting it into the tax return, you can just type the number in. So what I'm going to do at this stage is put in one of the words, which was steel, because this is a steel fabricator, and click on search, and the system will identify from the taxation office business number records the businesses that have got steel in their name. So this business is basically a structural steel product manufacturer. So that's it there, 22210. I've clicked on it, and it is going to transfer that description, structural steel manufacturing, over here into the codes we've decided apply to this particular business. If you knew the code number, you could click on 22210, or you could type in 22210, sorry, and that's all you need to do. If you're unsure of the code, if you click here, that would take you to the list of the Australian Taxation Office's Business Industry Code, which I'm sure you're all familiar with. You have an alphabetical list, and then you have a list in the various industries under the major classifications, and there are 18 of those, whereby you could find the code and insert it. You can obviously do that if you wish, but we've now identified the code that applies to this type of business. If they also were involved in some of these other activities, you could go back and click on them, and that would also transfer that. So just to show you, we'll click on basic ferrous metal manufacturing as well, and that will be transferred across so that we have an additional industry code that is applicable for this particular business. What we are then going to do is to click on click on the search grants, and the system is now going to use the information that you have inserted into the profile and is going to search the grants to see potentially what this business might be eligible for. So on your screen now you have pending grants. These are grants that the system on its first run through has determined that this business might be eligible for. There are some grants like the ones that are showing up, number 5 and 6, that are both for the same grant, but because this business could be involved in either advanced manufacturing or mining equipment technology services. Obviously, you can only apply for one. You see we've got export market development grant there. Because they're an importer, we've got the certain imports to manufacture. The Industry Capability Network, which is a great scheme whereby any business that's developed any sort of product or service can I hope you're receiving me okay. I've just been got a comment that the audio quality might be a bit poor. I hope you're hearing us okay. And there's some Victorian government grants that are also being disclosed for this client. Now, we're not going to work through all of those today. It does take a little bit of time. Some of them are not going to apply, but that's your first run through. There's 16, and a couple of these are free grants. So if we go back to the beginning, if you want to see how the system then works, we'll show you in a moment as soon as the system catches up. So we're going to click on Accelerating Commercialization. So all you do is just click on the name. And then you have a summary sheet as to what's included, it's a synopsis of what's included in that grant. And obviously you get something like this for each grant. You can look at that and then decide, is this really what this client might be interested in? At this stage we're saying that that's occurred because the client potentially falls into the manufacturing category. We then have a summary of the funding, so it's saying that you could get $5,000 to $1 million. And then we'll have a look at the application toolkit. So this is where we have information as to how this grant operates. This is a paper from ESS BIZTOOls, which you can look at and read if you want to get some more knowledge as to how this grant operates. You could print this paper if you wished to be able to supply it to your client so that they have a better understanding of how the system operates. Okay, what we've now gone to is additional criteria, because we now need to answer some additional questions. So has the applicant developed a new product? If the applicant is not a company, will they agree to form a company? Does the applicant have the ability to fund 50% of the project over a 2-year period? They don't need all that money on day one. Can the applicant justify that the funding is required? Remember, that was that first requirement. And does the applicant have ownership or control of the intellectual property needed for this project? So if we wanted to go further now, we can click on Apply Now. If we'd answered any of those questions incorrectly, Apply Now would not have appeared. And when we click on Apply Now, that will take you to the government department. The URL will take you to the government department that's handling that particular grant, so that you can go on and view the application form if you wish. So there's the URL for the accelerating commercialization. We're not going to do that because it does take a bit longer. But hopefully that gives you the idea of how the system works. Obviously, if you wanted to check out the details of the application process, we're giving you the link to do that. I've then hit Close, and that is going back through the system to decide on whether the applicant was potentially eligible for that grant. Remember, we had 17 grants to start with. The system's now saying there's only 16 left in pending. And I've clicked on to potentially eligible grants, and it's saying that accelerating commercialization is now a potentially eligible grant. We've now gone back to the main pending area. And what I might pick on now, just to give you an example, is the Export Market Development Grant. So I'm going to click on the Export Market Development Grant. So then you get the summary sheet. We then have got the the profile of the grant. So a grant of up to $150,000 on a 50% basis is available. If you have any clients that have been exporting, you're going to have to move fast if you want to lodge an application for 2014. It has to be in by Monday. The link will take you, we'll just show you something different this time. We'll go to the list of expenses that can be covered by the Export Market Development Grant. So they're there if you want to check through them or show your client so they can see those expenses. Now we're going to go into additional criteria. There's the additional questions that are being asked under the Export Market Development Grant. Have they spent money? Have they kept proper records? If they've had two claims made in over 2 years, they need to have a discussion with Austrade. So I've answered that they've done that. And will they spend more than $20,000 in aggregate? Just remember that you can have a 2-year period as being the applicable period for your first year of the Export Market Development Grant. And is the business the principal for the export business? And again, if we clicked on Apply Now, that would then take you to the Austrade website, whereby you could complete the application. So you could have clicked on there and gone to Austrade and had a look at an application form. We're going to avoid that. We've gone to updating the grant application. The pending grants has now been reduced, and we've now got 2 in the potentially eligible. What I want to do now is click on the print report so you can see how this process works. Once again, my apologies for the slowness of the internet delivery on all of this. It's painfully slow, and hopefully Telstra is going to fix our problem next week. So the concept of the report is that it gives you something to sit down and show your client and talk to them. So what you have on the screen now is the grant report. It has the client's name, your name. It wouldn't have ESS BIZTOOLS. It would have the name of the accountancy firm that's preparing it, and it's dated, so that it gives you a summary of the overall picture. The grant report's very important because it's giving you something to have a conversation with your client to be able to show them how the system operates. I'm just logging out now to go back to the beginning. Just having problems there. I'll just close this down. So we're now back at the beginning of the ESS BIZGRANTS website. I took you through a bit quickly through that first page. You can go there and have a look at yourself, please, www.essbizgrants.com.au. We now have got the pricing schedule. We do have a free trial for ESS BIZGRANTS. You can go on and put a couple of your clients through the system and have a look at it on a 2-week trial. You'll need to just sign up, so just click onto there. Our monthly subscription is $43 per month plus GST. That will give you a subscription for an office. This is a special discounted price, but for $43 per month, you get this coverage, or you can pay an upfront discounted price of $450 plus GST. So the way we suggest that people utilize this product is to update the profile of your client as part of your annual accounts preparation. It seemed to take a long time today because of the internet problems, but normally that would take you about 3 minutes to enter the profile. You can enter a code number if you wish, because we are using cloud technology. We do suggest you leave the information in the system. Next year it will then only take you about 1 minute to do any updates that might be necessary. Then it will need someone who has a better understanding of the client to answer some of those supplementary questions. Probably will take 5 to 10 minutes to just answer those questions. Then you have a report that you can have a conversation with your client when they come to have their annual accounts reviewed, and you can highlight to them the grants or assistance that they may be eligible to apply for. The sale job then is to say to the client, do you wish us to proceed and handle this for you to complete the application process? In our experience, the vast majority of clients will say yes, because most of them hate forms in any case, and some of them don't particularly like doing with government departments either. So you can then complete the application. Part of that process would be that you determine the type of work under that particular grant program that you believe your firm can handle. You submit a proposal to your client that you can handle that work, and as long as the government official or the case manager, depending how the particular grant's organised, is satisfied that you're able to deliver that work and that the price is reasonable, in most cases you will then get the authorisation to proceed with doing the work. The work always has to be done within stipulated time limits. Most of the grants in our system have got time limits of 6 months to 2 years for them to be completed. So it's not that it's got to get done tomorrow. And you are then able to deliver that service for your client. Your client's happy, they're getting some government grant money. You should be happy, you're getting the opportunity to work on a wide variety of different work than normal compliance tax returns. And when you look at the publicity of late that's come out of the tax office, particularly from the second Commissioner of Taxation at the ATSA conference a month ago, when he indicated there's going to be at least a $500 million reduction in accountancy fees starting in 2015. I believe internally their estimate is probably closer to $1 billion. That is going to affect every accountancy business in Australia. The challenge for you and all others is how do you minimise that effect? When you combine that with the Deloitte report on the effects of digital disruption, a 32% change in the accountant's business over the next 2 to 3 years, it really highlights to us the frightening times that are ahead for most accountancy businesses in Australia. So that's the overview of ESS BizGrants. I'm just going to check whether we've got any questions. We don't seem to have any questions. If you think of any questions later on, please don't hesitate to send me an email, peter@essbizgrants.com.au, and we'll be able to send you an answer. We continually update the grant program because obviously grants continue to change. The federal government is issuing grants fairly regularly, new grants. They tinker with grants, and obviously when you put the state and territory governments into the equation, there's a large number of grants at play at any time. So thank you for listening to this webinar today. I hope you have a great weekend, and once again, if you do have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact us.